All right, good afternoon. It is exactly 12:30 on the clock. And yes, welcome back. Still the midday show right here on your number one talk radio station, Lagos Talks 91.3. It is time for parenting today. And of course, when it comes to parenting, it is actually one of the most important and time, dedication, demanding, would I say, what exactly do you call it? Is it a lifetime of devotion? So many names and so little words to do justice as regards parenting. It is such an important role. Whatever you put in is what you will get out in the form of the actions and decisions of your children. When it comes to parenting, no one is perfect, but of course, when it comes to the closest thing to perfection and one person who is an amazing parent and an expert as regards parenting, I have someone who's joining me virtually, Miss Yetty Williams, the CEO of Lagos Moms. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm happy. Good to have you back. It's been a minute.
It has been good to be back.
How is your family? How's everything?
Everybody's great. Thank you. Thanks for asking. What about yourself?
I'm great. I'm fine. Thank you so much. So today's topic is one that I was really happy that, we're getting to talk about it because, we can't turn a blind eye to what's going on right now in the country, Nigeria. And I'm speaking as regards the current state of the economy and how everyone has had to tighten their belt, cut down on their budgets and whatever, all in the bid to, still live an average life and be able to get ahead in terms of finances. Now, today's topic is financial planning in a tough economy. And it is not the easiest thing to come up with, especially with people who have mouths to feed, parents who have children to train and provide and care for. So please, if you could kindly take us through today's topic. There's so much I'm eager to ask, but I want you to begin. I have a couple of questions I'd love to ask. And for those who are listening, who want to join the conversation, they can do so as well. So Ms. Yetty, can we kindly hear you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really tough time. And like you said, we can't ignore what's going on. As parents, you never get a day off. So parenting is constant, 24/7. The children don't particularly understand, depending on their age, that things are maybe financially tight. Currently, there are some things that they can't understand. There are some things that we don't have to burden them with. But it doesn't mean that children cannot be, informed. For example, that things are different right now. We need to tighten our belt or how we spend because right now there's some things that are tougher for mom and dad. And so what that means is that you can fill in the blank for what that means for your family. And I think being honest and saying it up front really helps to manage everybody's expectations. So it's not to lash out at the children, take it out on them, but it's fair enough for them to understand that currently some things need to shift. Maybe you're not going to be eating out as often. Maybe, instead of 3 pieces of meat, it's going to be 1. Whatever it is for your family, but I think it's really important to have those conversations. But this should also have happened after mom and dad have had a conversation.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think it's important for both, for the couple to be on the same page as much as possible.
Wow, right? That's amazing. No, I'm like, that's amazing. But, some parents are scared to say no. I know some people might find it difficult to say no to their kids, especially, when they've been pleading over time for something, that they really want. Could be a toy or a gift. Now, for such parents who might be, at crossroads of, do I make this child, should I give this to them, especially when they've been good, they're probably excelling at their academics. So you might want to give them a reward. And however, you have to know that, or rather, that you're on a tight budget and you can't afford to just throw money around. What would you advise such parents, one who finds themselves in this situation? Hello?
I think being able to cut your coat according to your size is really important. And yes, we know parents don't like saying no, but you have to be realistic. You can still reward a child without tying it to an expensive material good, right? So a child can still be rewarded for whatever it is you want to reward them for. They did well in school, they spoke well, I don't know, whatever it is you're trying to reward them for. But it doesn't have to break the bank. That's the truth. If you can't afford certain level, then you must be able to cut your coat according to your size. And I think it's important for parents not to feel like they failed, or to feel like, I've let my child down, and then you beat yourself up and you feel guilty, because when you feel guilty, that's what you'll pass on to the child. One thing that's very practical is if a child is up for a reward, whatever that is, and maybe it's their birthday, they've done well in school, or you feel like rewarding them, ask them to give you a list of a couple of things they would like to receive.
Okay.
I find that that's quite helpful. And I've been doing it for quite a few years with the children. I think from when they turn about 10, I would say something like, give me a list of 10 things you would like for your birthday. And the idea with that list was, one thing was to be able to surprise them. So they would never know exactly what I was getting from the list. And also, if I then had family and friends who were saying, your child's birthday is coming up, what can I get for them? I already had this handy list, that I was able to share and say, actually, this is the child's list. And I found that it's been very effective, because sometimes people don't know what to get for your child, but if they know the child's interest, then within reason, everybody can pick what suits them. So I think that's one easy way to do it, is if you know right now your child has been asking for something particularly that maybe you can't afford, you can say, what, let's make this a game. Can you give me a list of maybe 5 things you would like that if you receive, you'll be very happy? And let them list it. You'll be amazed what the variety could be. And it's also a good way to get children to not only think about expensive things.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's one practical way to handle that feeling of I can't say no.
All right. Thank you so much. I love that you're making mention of that. And to those who are listening, if you have questions as regards making plans, financial planning in a tough economy, yes, you can join the conversation. You can join Miss Yetty and I here. You can call in or send a message. When it comes to sending messages, you can do that via WhatsApp. You can send a voice note not longer than 60 seconds and your messages. You can even call via WhatsApp. The WhatsApp number is 0809 234 5913. You can also call on either of these numbers, 0809 222 0913, 0809 234 5913, and the women only line for just the ladies, 0809 191 3913. All right. And if you want to join via Twitter, yes, you can send us a message. Our handle is at Lagos Talks 913. Kindly use the hashtag parenting today as you join the conversation. Now I have a message here on WhatsApp. Okay, here someone says, good afternoon. Please, can you kindly ask Miss Yetty how to make the best decisions when it comes to how much money to save per month as a couple with one child? Hello? Miss Yetty,
so that question was around how saving money, right?
Yeah, how much money should be saved per month for a couple with just one child?
I can't answer that question generically. What I would say is to create a bit of a budget or a plan. So, and I think about what are the things that should go into your planning and spending for the child now and in the future. So let's assume that child is, 5 years old, for example. To budget and think, okay, the child is going to eat, going to go to school. There's probably going to be some healthcare involved. So you want to do a list of the absolute needs, what this child needs, which includes all the education and all of those things. Then you want to have another section that is kind of what you would like to do for the child. So maybe go on holiday, go and watch movies, break it down into those two parts. And especially during tougher economic times, the first thing that needs to reduce or get scratched off the list or pushed to the future would be the things that are not needs, but are just wants.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, for example, your child needs to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
That's not negotiable. But does your child need to buy a whole new wardrobe because they are going to a new class? They don't have to. They don't need new shoes if their shoes from before are still fine. They don't need a new school bag if their school bag from last year is still okay.
Okay.
So those are the ways that I would advise you go about it. Look at the child's school fees and then use that to budget and say, okay, there's expenses we must do today on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis. But if we're also planning for a year, 2 years, 3 years, how much is school fees likely to be when the child maybe starts primary school? You can ask around and build that into your budget. So that helps you to have a plan on what you need to save to be able to provide for your family and your child.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Miss Yetty. Thank you for taking the time to explain these very, very, quality words of advice as regards planning during a tough economic situation. I have a question here from someone who says his name is Timothy from Maryland. Timothy says, my wife and I are currently disagreeing over how she spends money. She takes money from our joint account and buys clothes for the kids and herself without informing me. I want to stop putting in money into that joint account and start keeping my share in a totally different bank account. She says that is betrayal. Please, what should I do?
Okay. So you need to calmly create a new set of rules of engagement.
Okay.
Go back to the reason why you created the joint account.
Okay.
Agree what the plan for that joint account is. What are you allowed to access the funds in the joint account for? You need to agree. I think the extreme of no longer contributing money to that joint account might be detrimental. And you need to think about the decisions you are making so that it won't negatively affect your marriage. So I would advise you sit down and have a plan. Discuss what your goals are for having a joint account. Agree on a budget around how the money from the joint account must be spent. Let her explain the need for the children's clothes. Are they outgrowing their clothes? Maybe if they're growing fast, then maybe they need clothes, but you then need to agree on the amounts that can be spent and the frequency. So I think it's to have a conversation again, very calmly, and just get to a new set of understanding why it's a problem for you. She should also explain why she's using the money for those things, and then agree what's the way forward. That's what I would advise.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. All right. I have another question here from... Okay, so this one is Mary from Ebutemeta. Good day. Please, I'm currently facing hard times saving money. As soon as I'm done sending money home, I have little to nothing left, and this is making me question if I need to send money home. Mary Ebutemeta.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Mary. We have a lot of questions coming in today. So when she says sending money home, I think a couple of things are necessary to understand. Who is in this home she's sending money to? Is it, elderly parents? Who is she sending the money to? It all goes back to budgeting and planning. If you have to send money to support people in your family, then you have to. But what needs to change around it are two things. Very high level. You are either sending less, okay, so that you can have more money to yourself to spend on yourself, Mary, or you're having to find a way to make more.
Wow. Okay.
And then you fall somewhere in between those two things. So who are you sending it to? Do they need you for that? If you have to, then you need to adjust. Maybe you need to adjust their expectations and to say, right now, I can't afford to send what I used to send to you, for example, for now. And maybe you also need to look at how else you can earn income. And that was one of the areas I actually wanted us to focus on today as well, which is during tough economic times, one of the first things you can do is, yes, tighten your belt, reduce where you're spending money, get more creative about letting your money go further for you. And I want us to talk about a slightly different dimension, which is how can we all expand our mind and our scope to actually earn in a world where it's really a knowledge economy and we are all connected by technology. So the truth is, no matter where you sit right now, and if you're a Nigerian earning Naira, one of the biggest things you want to think about is how can you earn Forex from where you live, from Nigeria.
Okay.
So maybe we can focus on that a little bit to start changing the mentality from, yes, you can save, but there's only so much savings you can save.
That's
you know what
true.
I mean?
That's true.
It's like a rubber band. At a point, no matter how much you cut, there's certain things you probably cannot cut. So you can now say, okay, over the next few months, what can we do to actually earn more as individuals?
Oh, wow. That is great. Thank you for that eye-opening suggestion. To be honest, sometimes we forget to think outside of the box. And I like that you're reminding us to see an opportunity amidst that, bit of a challenge. Thank you for that. Now I have another question here. This one is from Ambrose James Imowe. It says, Madam Yetty, do you know he wrote Madam Yetty? Good morning. Can you give an example of an order of priority for financial planning for a family of 4?
Okay. It's as if we should have a financial boot camp session.
Because so many questions. I have a couple more, but James Ambrose wants to know an example of an order of priority when it comes to financial planning for a family of 4.
Right. Okay, so in terms of order of priority, some things are generic and basic, which I would say it would be your rent.
Okay.
Rent or mortgage, depending on whether you own or you're renting the home. That's for sure. Then feeding,
Okay.
Family of 4, you are eating probably 3 meals a day. So what does it cost you to feed a family of 4? Then you want to talk about things like education. Children are in school, or even if they're not in school yet, I always advise it's a great idea, even if your children are not yet in school, to start planning for school fees. So education is another one that you must, plan for. Then you probably have mode of transportation. So how are you getting around? Is it bus fare? Is it is it your car? Are you having to buy petrol? Think about your mode of transportation as well in terms of getting around. Then I would say you should have a line item for health. Health and wellness. So do the children have certain medicines they're using? You as a family, what are you doing for your health and wellness as a family? So at the very basic, I would say this covers, at least that's a good starting point for you. And if you don't yet know how much you spend on some of these things, what you can do over the next few weeks is to just take note of everything you are spending as a family and then do an assessment at the end of the week and say, okay, how much did we spend on all of these different items? But some people don't know how much how much is going out of their pockets. They just know that at the end of the month they feel broke. But if you were to say, okay, what percentage is going to this and that, they can't really tell you. So that can be an exercise for you. And then when you start from there and you start paying attention to what you're spending money on, you will start seeing different categories that come. I'm sure maybe you have data, you have credit, maybe your spouse has credit, maybe you're also paying for data in the house. Okay. You know what I mean? All those little things add up. When you now add it all up and pay attention, you can now start saying, all right, how do we save on some of these line items?
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Yetty. I have another question. This one's from Ifoma in Ago Palace. It says, good day. I have 300,000 in the account. I want to invest it. I want to invest that money because that money has been in the bank for 1 year. How do I do Forex business? Should I buy and keep, or should I go to the bank to tell them about my plan to, be a part of any Forex business? Please advise.
Okay. So there are two things here. Okay. So what I mentioned earlier about earning in Forex meant, finding a way to have supplemental income.
Okay.
Where you don't necessarily focus just on earning in Naira. So we can talk about that a little bit more. But in terms of how wanting to save that money, 300K in an account that is not earning you any interest rate is not doing it. That means your money is not working for you.
Okay. All right.
You want to find a way to invest that money so that the money is working for you, is earning you money essentially when you sleep, right? And there are many, many instruments for that. The best thing I would advise is you can start with your bank. Find somebody who's a is reputable, investment advisor. You can say, this is the money I have and I want to save it. Is it for short term? Is it for medium term? Is it for long term? If she already has kept this 300K in the account for 1 year, that means she doesn't need that money, right? So that money now, you can take it and say, if I want to invest,
okay,
and I want to invest in something that's also giving you a return that hopefully is higher than inflation, right? Because if inflation rate is a certain percentage and your investment is yielding you something that's less than that, you're really not making money.
True.
So you want to think about, okay, 300K, I don't need to touch it for the next 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. You decide. Then you can now say, what are the investment opportunities for me to ensure that I can invest this money and I don't lose it? That can then be a conversation. Yes. Then in terms of earning Forex, it might have to be another show, because I really want us to sit down and think through, how do we identify our skills, our talents, and how can we take those things and turn them into a product or service that can earn us all additional income globally?
Wow, I love that. Thank you. Because sometimes we're so focused on our challenge, we don't even look around us to look from within, or even, but when it comes to talents, I'm not trying to downplay Nigeria. But on this side of the world, we have so many talented people, but to monetize it is actually the problem. It's not easy to start from somewhere. You see, we have so many artists, we have, so many people who want to be a part of a certain industry, but because of lack of capital and so many factors, Madam Yetty, they're not able to ever showcase their talent. So someone who might be feeling discouraged as regards monetizing their talent, what advice would you give such person?
You know me now, Paula, and one of the things I move away from is looking at the problems first.
Okay.
Saying, what are the opportunities? So, I have this talent. I'm finding it difficult to monetize. I don't have capital. Okay. But what do you have? Now, one of the things we all have today is social media, right?
Yes.
How are you using social media to build your own, to build your brand, essentially? So if, for example, let's pick an example, just pick a random example that just popped into my head. Okay. Somebody who does sketches very well. Some people that are gifted with sketching.
Yeah.
They will just take a pencil and you're wondering, what are they going to draw? And by the time they are done, you're like, wow, that's what this person drew. So imagine somebody has that kind of talent. The worst thing we can do is to be the best kept secret. Okay. There's no point being the best kept secret. So if you have that kind of talent, and maybe you're on social media, what about creating a social media page that's not showing me that today you wore the most beautiful clothes or you're hammering? Just create one that showcases your talent. You can then decide, how do you want to monetize it? That means if you can draw like that, anybody in any part of the world can commission you, right? To sketch something for them. Is that not doable? It's doable.
True, very.
In today's day and age, with all the digital platforms we have, can you or can you not get paid in your Nigerian account or domiciliary account from Nigeria, and somebody is sitting in Australia and says, I saw your page. I love how you can create anything with your gift of being able to draw with a pencil. I would love you to draw me. Can I send you my picture and can you do a pencil sketch for me? And can you get it to me in Australia?
Wow. Okay. That's encouraging. Possible? Yeah, it is. Thanks to the world being a global village right now with access to the internet. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. I was just going to say, I think so. It's very important for us to sit back. The first place to start from is, what are these my gifts and talents? It doesn't only have to be creative. Some people is that they are great at editing. So you could be an editor who says, you know what I offer is that if you have a book or a manuscript or you need somebody to edit it for you, I can edit it for you for, I don't know, £5 or $5 an hour. Calculate that in Naira. That's money. Do you know what I mean? So there are certain things that we can do, but we need to first start with, what are my gifts? What are my talents? What do I like to do? Okay, how can I make this obvious to the world? How can I make social media work for me? So rather than consuming, just being on social media, liking people's videos, like, how are you using it to create an alternative source of income for you?
I like that. Thank you so much. It's so easy, for us to get caught up and forget that opportunities do exist in the midst of whatever situation we might find ourselves. I have a question here, please, from Dr. A. Dr. A says, "Good morning, ladies. Please, I'm a doctor and I want to travel to Canada and leave my wife and my twins for about a year till I settle properly. My wife doesn't know I've gone very far with my application and I might have to tell her soon. Please, how do I go about it? God bless."
So if I hear this right, this Dr. A has gone far in his plan
to
move
relocate
to Canada without the wife and twins. And it seems like he's just going to be breaking the news to the wife after he's gone quite far.
Yeah, probably when his application, is out.
So, I mean, without knowing the specifics of the situation, I'm not quite sure why the wife wasn't part of the conversation from the beginning. Is it because she's resistant to it? Is it that she doesn't want to go? Or is it that maybe he didn't want disappointment and he wants to be sure that it is
like a false
and he wants to be he wants to be sure that it's a goal before he tells her. I don't really know, but he's the one that's going to have to think through, okay, why didn't he carry her along all this time? And when he's announcing it to her or telling her, the way he tells her must be done very thoughtfully. This is not something you just spring on her and say, well, this is the plan, so just get with it. Those are the things that start to cause friction in a marriage. So I would advise that he needs to think through why. If he wants to get in touch with me, please do. You can find always, I'm going to drop my handles at the end of this, but it's a good thing you're trying to do for your family, but the way you go about it and the way you present it to your wife can make all the difference on whether it helps you as a family to grow together or it breaks you apart.
It's actually, I feel bad for him and I feel bad for his wife. Just, having a spouse plan this far and something this important and not tell you. She's going to feel betrayed, but hey, as you highlighted, communication is key in this particular situation. He just has to go about it the best way possible. All right, Miss Yetty, thank you so much. It is 12:58, and I like that you have, you've shifted our focus from the problem to possible solutions in the midst of that same challenge. Thank you for that. So if you can just summarize, one or two last words for today's show as regards planning financially in a very tough economy, what would you tell our listeners? And then possibly you can let listeners who want to get across to you after the show, you can tell them how they can possibly do so.
Okay. Yes, one of the things we should always remember is that tough times come.
Okay.
They come and they go. Parenting, we never get a chance to take a break from being a parent or raising a family. But when things are tough, the first thing you need to do is prioritize your health and well-being, because without that, you can't even you can't even come out of what's going on, positively. So take care of your health and eat well, rest well, reduce the stress. And it's easier said than done. But if you are mindful about it, it's a bit easier. Secondly, is that you want to be honest with where you are financially as a family. Look at your inflows, look at your outflows, get a sense around what you're spending. We've discussed a lot on this show today around budgeting and all of that. You kind of need to have a picture of where you are and what's going on for the next 6 months, 12 months. Have a plan, and then you can start building something around it if you haven't created a plan before. And then thirdly is there's only so much cutting you can do. That's the truth. There are some costs that are not going to go anywhere. So what you need to start shifting your mind into is thinking, how can I earn more? It might not be to get another job, because we also know that jobs are a bit difficult to find,